We've got breaking news from the southern border. The Department of Homeland Security reportedly releasing violent illegal immigrants back into society after they've committed crimes. Arizona Republican Congressman Matt Salmon is uncovering this, and he is demanding that the White House stop this. Congressman, tell us the very latest about this. We've heard about it before. What are the latest stories?
Well, just within the last few days, they released in one of our counties 3 criminals onto the streets of Arizona. One who murdered an individual out in the desert, stabbed him to death, and then poured gasoline on him and burned him. And then another one that beat his infant daughter. These are 3 criminals that have been released in the Obama catch and release program with illegal aliens. By the way, it's epidemic, because over the years 2013 and 2014, they have released over 66,000 criminals back into the American streets. Over 100 of them were murderers. Numerous were, too many to count, were sex offenders and kidnappers. These are not jaywalkers that are being released. And it seems like there's a double standard. If you're an illegal alien, you're treated a little bit better than the American public. And this has got to stop. They should, not, at the very least, if we can't incarcerate them, they should be deported back to their home country. And then if we pass the other bill that I've introduced, Kate's Law, that makes it a mandatory 5-year sentence if you're deported and then come back into this country, we'll be able to get a hold of it.
I'll tell you, for one, this is a personal opinion, but I'm very grateful to you for pushing Kate's Law as hard as you have been. I'm wondering, though, if there's anybody in the administration, whether at ICE or whether in the White House directly, who's listening to you, who's accepting these figures and saying that something needs to be done about this.
You know, so far it's been falling on deaf ears. This is not the first letter that I've written. A young man, a 21-year-old man, Grant Ronnebeck, was working at one of the QTs in my district and was shot in the face by an illegal alien who had been let out after he'd committed other crimes, among them rape and robbery. And then he shot my constituent in the face, killed him, stepped over his lifeless body to steal a couple of packs of cigarettes. And then we remember Kate Steinle in San Francisco. This is all over the country.
But Congressman, forgive me, but just to press the point, nobody at the White House, nobody at ICE is taking your calls right now on this?
Nobody is responding back to us to the questions that we posted, or asking them why in the world are they continuing this dangerous policy of catch and release that's just as dangerous for the undocumented people here in this country.
Sure it is.
Anybody that walks the streets of America is going to be in harm's way.
Any innocent person is at risk because of these criminals on the loose.
That's right.
Congressman Matt Salmon, we got to leave it at that, Congressman.
Horrible. Okay.
Thank you very much. I know you're very passionate about it, deservedly so. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. Back to the buzz Fox Business is getting from Donald Trump. Trump running, of course, as a D.C. outsider, and he's telegraphing that he would bring in more outsiders. Take a look.
Spoken to Carl Icahn, who's a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, and others of the great deal makers and negotiators, and they're going to represent me if I win, and they're going to represent our country on trade deals. We're going to get the best dealers in the world, and we have them.
To billionaire investor John Paul DeJoria now on whether Washington needs an infusion of business voices inside the Beltway. John Paul, I know you have different views on Donald Trump. Everybody does. I think even supporters do. But wouldn't it be nice to have someone in the White House who actually knew how laws and regulations affect business?
I agree on this one. I think that is brilliant. I had a big discussion with Neil Cavuto about this a couple of years ago. Why doesn't our country have business people that have run something? Unfortunately, in no disrespect, a lot of our politicians, especially at the high end, have never run a lemonade stand, as they say. They have no business experience. They're politicians. They promise things sometimes, and they maybe mean well. They cannot deliver because they don't know how to do it. Yeah. Our nation nation definitely needs more business people, and they're coming up with solutions because that's what we do.
Yeah, well, you know, even politicians who become businessmen, that happens sometimes. George McGovern, who ran for president,
Sure.
I guess back in '68, he became a businessman. He left politics. He ran a small inn in the state of Connecticut.
Right.
Eventually was so frustrated by all the rules and regulations that he was a part of. He was one of the sponsors of some of the bills
Correct.
that when he was a businessman, he was against. So even politicians, when they become businessmen, realize that these rules and regs don't work.
Boy, did you get that one on the dot. I wish he would have been a businessman before going into office.
Exactly.
Many politicians after office become business people and say, oops, I wish I knew that. But again, it's how the political system works. So I think from here on out, especially during this big campaign program that's going on for the next year, tell the nation not just what you want to do, how you plan to do it, and even though you don't have the experience, how you're going to pull this one off. And then say at the same time, they should do this in writing. I started this during the last election called the Accountability Pledge. I will do this, this, and this, and if I don't do this, this, and this in my first year, I will tell you why, and it'll be a good explanation. If not, impeach me because I lied to you to get into office.
Right.
Now, if they're that accountable, we may have some people in there other than just promises
to tell you
they
the
can
truth,
never
John
keep.
Paul, all politicians are liars. They all lie, at least partially, in order to get into office. But at least a businessman
Sure.
would know whether a rule or regulation was going to help or hurt business. That would be a delightful fresh air, a bit of fresh air inside the Beltway. John, we got to leave it at that. John Paul DeGioia, thank you so much. I know you worked hard to get to the studio today. We appreciate you coming in.
You got it.